my very favorite things to do is chat with authors. And I am chatting today with Layla Kara, the author behind Forbidden Sanctuary, a book that when I say it's a page turner, I mean, I read this book in just a short couple of days because I could not put it down. Welcome to my guest this afternoon. Layla, how are you?
Thank you. I'm pretty good. Thank you. It's not a very great weather outside.
Where are you? Where are you in the world?
I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina.
In North Carolina. I'm in New Zealand. So I'm sorry to brag, but it is summertime here and the weather is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's raining, it's muggy, and yeah, but it's a perfect weather to write continuation of my story. I was
Right.
waiting for the right atmosphere to continue, so that's been great. I wrote, like, just waiting for this meeting, I wrote like another 3 chapters for book 3.
Oh, see, I love that so much. There's nothing like, especially when you're talking about gothic, romantic fantasy, it kind of needs that like brooding, moody sort of weather when you're reading it, right? Because everything is very orchestral and sort of operatic. And I loved that vibe that I got off of this book, which is so fun. But to kick things off, I want you to introduce this book in your words, and then I want to chat about it with you. So go ahead, Layla, tell us your book.
Okay, so my book called Forbidden Sanctuary, and it's a first book in a trilogy. And I kind of tried to envision a different structure for heaven and hell, and it's about fallen angels and vampires and fays and witches, and it's all gothic vibes of in this particular book about southern vibes, southern gothic vibes. And I tried to stick to what I like the most, and what's close to my heart is the gothic lyrical prose. And I started as a little girl writing poetry, and I feel like it, and I think from a lot of reviews, people got the point of I wrote poetry before because of the lyrical prose. So I kind of tried to stick to my roots, but also transfer to something more palatable for a bigger audience, because unfortunately poetry is not very popular.
Well, this certainly, the lyrical prose, you couldn't have offered that up in any better a script for people who are about to sit down with this book, because it is extraordinarily poetic as you are entering various environments, whether it be in the Holy Orchid, or if you are going in, or sorry, the Iron Orchid, or if you are going into Holy Rollers, like when you're talking about all of these when you're in hell. Hey, how did you turn hell into poetry, Layla? Like, what is happening here? I had to look up the word obsidian because I didn't know what obsidian was, and I looked it up because obsidian comes up throughout the book, and the idea of translating this volcanic rock, this black volcanic rock, and you can sort of feel this entire vibe happening throughout the book. So let's talk about where this book came from for you, because there are a lot of layers. There are a lot of characters. And one thing, and I'm going to just show it to the camera real quick, I have my glossary. This actually is included in the beginning of Forbidden Sanctuary, because there are a lot of very interesting little additions to the story that you need that glossary to go back and be like, okay, what did that mean? What is that edict? What is that sword? And what does that celestial mean? And so on and so forth. Where did this book come from?
Oh, it came from my soul. I tried to compile into this story my nature. I come from former USSR territory, and I was 6 years old when all of the government structure collapsed, and little countries and I'm one of those little countries, were trying to figure out how to be a country, when everything falls apart. And when you're a 6-year-old girl and you're watching things happening in front of your eyes, and I will not go into details, some things were pretty gruesome, and it stays with you. And I started writing my first kind of poetic rhymes when I was 6 years old. And I remember my first poem was about clock. And when I went back to my notebooks and I saw this first thing of my life, I was like, oh my God, for a 6-year-old, it's such a, I don't know, dark space to be in. And but it comes from my soul. It comes from being in this emo teenager, and very romanticizing the darkness. And when I first saw Constantine movie, it absolutely floored me. When I watched Devil's Advocate, it absolutely floored me. I'm a very emotional person, and I everything goes for me on the paper. And also writing lyrical prose or poetry, it was kind of coding for me, because my mother would always find my diaries and she would read them and get pissed off. So I learned how to hide my feelings behind words. So then life came in and I got married and I got kids, and kind of the writing went on the background. But last year, I read a book, I believe it was in January, and I'm sure you know about it, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And after reading that book, I just sat with myself in the room and thinking that I know I don't want to die invisible. I want my work to be seen, and I want other people experience my mind, basically. And I was like, okay, I'm ready to publish my draft. And in March of the last year, I sent it out for edits.
And I am so glad that you did. I also want to trace back to something that you had started talking about, in your childhood and what you witnessed as a young person. Being able to translate that into the page, unbelievable, for starters. But secondly, I want to thank you for the trigger warning at the beginning of this book. And I thought that was an extraordinarily responsible opportunity as an author to talk to their readers, to be like, you're going to walk into some scenes that might upset you. Just be prepared for that. Now, I don't want to blow the ending, but I tells you, when I got to that scene toward, you know exactly what I'm talking about, towards the end of the book, I was like, no, and I was reading it in the living room at our house, and my little cousin who's 10 walked by and he goes, what's going on? I'm like, nothing. But I was really grateful that you had left that trigger warning, because I can imagine that somebody could find some of the themes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about being not only aware enough to tell people it's coming, but what it was like for you to write that part of the book. And I mean, this goes on throughout the entire book. It's not just this one particular scene, but there are some very dark themes throughout the book that lend to its nature. And so I wanted to ask you about that.
I had that conversation actually with my therapist. And when she read kind of the chapters of my book, she would ask me the same question: what made you do that? And I wanted not specifically directly experience of my life to put on the page, but things that I felt like within specific moments of my life. So whatever the triggers that are in the book might have or might not happen in my personal life, that I try to envision from a perspective of feeling and emotions, how you would feel when that would happen to you. So and the trigger warning, some people that read the arc think that it was too descriptive trigger warning. But in now age, I would rather be overly descriptive on the trigger warning than not to say something that is going to sneak up on people, like I said, right? So just to be safe, I was like, okay, guys, just warn you, it might affect you, might not, but it's there.
I love your interpretation of heaven and hell, because you turned this into your own story, which I thought was really fascinating. So yes, readers, you're going to hear about Michael and Lilith, and you're going to hear about Lucifer, and perhaps some of these characters that you have heard of all your life. but never this way. So tell me, when do these characters visit you in your dreams? Where do they come from?
No, well, kind of. I always live in some kind of other dimension in my head, right? And I think that's normal for any person of any art, right? And one time that it really struck me is when I was watching Out of Everything, a Lucifer show on Netflix, and I believe they started on Fox. And when I saw Lucifer in those series to portray as not specifically bad nor good, you know, and I understood that yes, that's exactly it. You can be either bad or good. You can be both. And it depends on what happens in your life in that moment or previously is affecting your decisions or creates your personality, right? So when I was envisioning hell, I didn't want it to just to put it all fire and brimstone, you know. I wanted to show that it can be a society. It doesn't have to be bad, but it has a purpose, you know. It serves a purpose. It's same as heaven, right? And I'm trying not to spoil my own book, but it envisions it differently than what usually people portray as heaven, right? It neither bad or good, but it's different. And the structure, you know, the tribunal, it's for me, it's like, what if this whole judgment setup that we have in our world came from somewhere, right? It was passed down generations from somewhere. I'm like, why not to start on the top?
I thought that part was so unbelievably cool. Your imagination went places that was so fun to follow. I was like, where did she get that from? Like it just, you know, you must have been a very daydreamy kid. And I mean that with so much love and endearment, because there was so much world building. And that is one of the beauties of Gothic romantic fantasy. This genre really gives people an opportunity to world build. So tell me a little bit about that for yourself. I can imagine you had no inhibitions writing this book. Like there was no parameters. There was no, you know, I can't do this or I can't do that. It was like throw whatever you want against the wall, figure out what sticks, and then stitch it into the book.
You have no idea. The first draft that I sent to my editor, and oh my God, that lady is absolutely amazing. What she shaped the story into by pushing me an extra mile to think harder, it's just absolutely amazing. What I sent her as a first draft, it was basically a throw up of my mind. Yeah, and she's like, okay, can we just, you know, gentle here and more harder here? And I'm like, oh, okay. So it's like if you read the first draft, it's nothing what it is going to be published. It was I'm a self-proclaimed ADHD person. Like my brain goes everywhere. Like matter of fact, when I was writing draft for the first one, halfway down I started drafting the second one just so I don't forget the connections, right? And like the first one was absolutely a throw up of my mind, and there was no plotting, no structure. It was just like, okay, we're going there and then we're going there and then we're going here. Hold on, how do we get here? I need to look up on the map. It doesn't make sense. Like it all came with the creation of the draft, right? The second one was a little bit, okay, I need to hold on a little bit. I need to make sure that all the ins and ends are compiling together. So yeah, it was a total throw up of my brain.
I'm so glad that you brought this up, because I wanted to talk to you about sticking to the story, right? Because as I'm reading it, I mean, it's got so many layers, and it's so cool to, you know, remind myself as a reader, okay, because we met that character at that place, and this is where they are now, and this is where their story is going. So in that process for you, do you have like sticky notes on the wall? Like, how do you keep track of the story for yourself?
I'm so sorry. I have a dog here barking because my son came home. Lola, don't you dare. But So for the first one, no, there was no sticky notes. I basically closed myself in the room for like 6 months. And when I was done with the draft, my husband reached out to me to ask if he still has a wife. So I understood. So it's time to get out to the people again. But sticky notes came more when I started to explore the story after the first book. Let me let my dog out one moment. Okay. Sorry about that.
Tell
But
me,
yeah.
I want to know, as a writer, I hear this often, that authors will find themselves in some of the characters, right? Like, not necessarily that that character is them, but maybe a reflection or a projection of themselves. You've got a great host of characters in this book. You've got Sarah, you've got Cassia, you've got Kel, you've got Lilith. You know, there's Bethany, and I said to you and we were emailing back and forth that I want Bethany's hair. Oh, because she's got this gorgeous,
I love
gorgeous
Bethany's hair. I had her hair for a long time.
So of all the characters in this book, who did you find yourself relating to the most? Did you find that you brought a little bit of you into that character, or did you spread yourself out among all the characters?
I would think that Sarah is absolutely me. And if when you read the book, you think that she got her things together, right? And but inside is an absolute chaos. She has no idea what's going on. She has no idea what she's portraying, and that's me. Like, that's one part of me, right? The part where I'm when I'm artistic and when I'm trying to figure out how to wake up. It's yeah, Sarah totally was me. And Kale probably was, I wouldn't say it was my husband, but it was a man that I envisioned as a flawed, loving personality in my head.
You're being so kind to Kale right now, Layla. Like, I just want to say to all the readers out there that this man is an Adonis. He is a god among us mortals. He sounds like the sexiest dude that ever crossed creation lines. So thank you for that, Layla. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
you
You're
and all the
welcome.
descriptions.
I didn't want to get into cliche and write this brooding, dark guy that got his stuff together and he knows exactly what he wants. I wanted to write a flawed personality. I wanted to write a person that has no idea what he is doing, and he messed up so much in the past. And there's extra chapters that I will be releasing to kind of prequel to what happened, and the moment when he started to look back on his life. And I didn't want to include too much into the book one, so I keep people on the toes.
Well, I appreciate it, because I loved that you gave us permission as readers to take this journey with you. So you were able to give me the flexibility of going into my imagination and seeing things myself as well, and interpreting, why did Mark want Sarah the way that he did, or these sort of ideas, or why, with Bethany, I had my curiosities about her, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but I was like, aha. And I love that as we were going through the book, you were like, there's little tiny twists with these characters that's asking you, or even daring you as the reader, to kind of figure things out for yourself before you get to the climax. I thought that was really cool.
My point was, as I write and progress through the story, the book needs to have a lot of but why, and later within the pages, oh, that's why, not just blur everything out in the beginning of the book so everybody knows what's the plot. Or like, it frustrates me. I love reading, right? And it frustrates me when I have to go through the whole book and not figuring out what's happening, where in the last 5 pages I'm like, oh, okay, now the book is great. I wanted to kind of put in those little hints and tweaks in between the stories, so people keep people on their toes.
And I certainly like the juxtaposition of the mortal world and the
Mhm.
immortal world was so well done. Like, you actually believed that Sarah was, working at this tech firm in Savannah, as much as you believed that she was from heaven and hell. Like, it was like, I'm like, I loved that part so much. So it was easy for me as a reader to see her as this working career woman, as much as it was able to imagine her as this immortal creature, figuring
Yeah.
out who she is and figuring
Yeah,
out who
above
God is,
everybody. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which I thought
That's
was really cool.
one of the aspects I kind of, even though I threw up on the pages, I was trying to keep through the book is even though there are supernatural creatures, there's still so much humanity in them. They still want to be, they're still trying to fit in to whatever environment they have around them, right? And because the way the book starts in the prologue, she had no other choice. She had to fit in. Otherwise, there was no place for her anywhere else.
And I think that on a very cellular level, you can remove romantic, gothic, you can remove all the genre. At the end of this day, this is about a character figuring out who she is. And that
Mhm.
relates to every single reader on every single level. No matter what genre of book you love to read, this is going to resonate with you.
Yeah, it's definitely book is about character development rather than the plot itself, so to speak. There is a plot, but I wanted to show the progression of a person instead of some, I don't know, thrilleristic plot, you know.
And I want to ask you about your writing process. You've already said that your husband asked, where his wife was, because you get like so invested in the writing. But what's the process for you? Are you somebody that treats it like the 9 to 5? You got to come down to the writing room and bang out a few chapters, or do you write when the mood strikes?
I unfortunately cannot treat it as 9 to 5. I wish I could, but I found since I was a child that my writing comes to me at night. I don't know why. Sometimes I sit down, I don't know, at 8 o'clock at night and write till 2. Sometimes I sit down at 6 and write a chapter and I'm like, okay, I'm done for today. Sometimes it's a weather like this. I'm like, I cannot hold it. I have to spill it out. And I'm a mood writer and a mood reader. I have to say, yeah.
I would love to be at your place during a thunderstorm, because I guarantee that'll be like when Layla heads off the laptop, she's about to write. You can feel it. Or the other, we know a thunderstorm is coming because Layla started writing.
Like if when I was rereading my own draft and certain points of the book when they were coming out, I was like, oh, that was the date when this happened. Yes, exactly. Like I knew what happened.
Did you listen to any music while you were
Yes,
writing?
yes.
Because I mean, I hope it's not a cliche to say Evanescence came to
No,
mind right away.
I
Okay,
actually
good.
I can't listen to when I write. I can't listen to anything with words because they confuse my brain. So I have to listen to like mood music. So my go-to was like saved gothic music playlists, and it was like a mixture of gothic instrumental and classical music. Oh, that's perfect. Like when I started, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and that's just it. Like when I was reading this, yes, of course, Evanescence comes to mind because Amy Lee just kind of like
Sarah.
exudes all of the romantic gothic
Yes,
fantasy.
yes.
But Enya was at the top of my mind as I was like reading through this book, because you could just get lost in
Yeah.
like brooding castles and this feeling of being up the moors. Like that's how it felt.
One that particular music that set me off on the mood every time I listened to it and I would start writing was Enigma. Like for me, Enigma was like, okay, oh, I'm getting the mood, I'm getting the goosebumps. I need to put something on the page. So Enya is very, very close.
Well, there you go. See, we've got it. Now, this is
Yeah.
part of the Fallen Grace Chronicles, 3 books in total. Tell me about, so this book's coming out March 15th, and you're already into the throes of the next one?
The next one is already in editing.
Oh my God. How exciting is that for you? I mean, when did you said you sent this one off last year to the editor? So this has been something you've been, I don't want to say sitting on, but waiting for like a year?
So like I said, I started the second book halfway down the draft of the first one. Because it was, so the second book, it's going into Cassie's and Remiel's story. And when I started kind of in my progress through the first book, when Remiel and Cassie started coming out more, I was like, oh my God, I need to write about them because it's all like coming into my brain and I will forget if I don't. And I started writing the second one. And yeah, I finished the second draft back in November, I think. And basically my editor, she didn't have time till February, and I had to sit on it till February and send it out in February.
How hard is it to trust an editor with your work?
Oh God, at the beginning, and I was such a green author, I had no idea how to do anything. I basically went to readsy.com, put my query in, and shoot into the skies, trying to score somebody. I got so many rejections at first, and this absolutely amazing lady, Robin Leanne, she responded. And she's down in Texas, and she's like, "Oh, I have an opening for this." I'm like, "Great, thank you so much." And you know, when you have no idea how it's going on, you just rely on the person to tell you how it's going to happen. And I got so lucky with her that she actually coached me through the second book and how it needs to come out to life. Yeah, I've been very grateful. And same way for my amazing cover. I get so many compliments on my cover.
Yeah, the cover is pretty incredible. I mean, I think what, walking away from the book, one, I could see how we're going to have many more books in this series, which I thought was great. It was very clear that it couldn't have been a standalone. There's too much going on in this book that you want to know more. Secondly, it was a great length. It was a great length book where you could get yourself so invested into it, want to turn the pages for it, and it ended in a good spot. And I think that sometimes is a hard trick to pull off, right? Like, when is the ending, especially if it's a book that's going to continue into a series?
The ending of the book was very contradictory for me, because I had probably 4 different possibilities of the ending of the book. And I had to pick one that would strike the most, but not destroy a person, but by the same token, not resolving everything.
It was like the right amount of cliffhanger.
Yes, I was. It was a lot of sleepless nights trying to figure out which of the 4 was the right ending for the book. But I'm really happy where it landed, and there's more to come. And
well,
I have to say, there is eggs, Easter eggs throughout the book of the whole plot, and there's even Easter eggs on the cover too.
You know what? I'm telling you, it's not just a glossary that we're going to need. Now it's going to need to be like a whole Easter egg list that we as fans can look at.
I wouldn't say I'm a fan of Taylor Swift, but I like how she captures the fan base with her Easter egg hunting. And I didn't want to go into that much of overthinking how to capture the people, but I was like, you know what? A little here and there won't hurt.
I think it was perfect. I was like, oh, I remember when she said that. Oh, I remember when she did that.
I will show you something that you probably didn't notice. You see a cat?
Oh, look at you.
Yeah. And these circles, if you look really close into them, they're actually coins.
Oh, come
with
on
the
now.
runes on it. So these are Lucifer coins.
Oh my gosh, I love that you are so detailed. The imagery, the details, everything works. I can't stress enough about this glossary because that was so helpful and so cool, and speaks so highly of your imagination and world building and how much people can invest in these characters into a brand new stratosphere. It may have people that you've heard of before, but never in this way. So I thought that was really, really extraordinary. So congratulations to you, darling, because it was a lot of fun to read. It was really cool to get so involved into the book, and you pull away and you're like, oh, okay. Like I'm still here. I'm in my own living room. It's 2026. I got it. Because you get so sucked in to this story, which I thought was really cool. I also want to make sure we're telling all of our readers that it will be here on March the 15th. Yes, I've read it already. Don't be too jealous. March 15th is when you can get your hands on Forbidden Sanctuary, all part of the Fallen Grace Chronicles. Layla Kara, the author behind this book and the series. Girl, so good. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.